Drop it. What is it? Drop it. What do you got? Come here. Drop that. Can I have it? Drop. Be a good girl. Drop it. Thank you. Man, dogs are weird. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the Ovenged channel. Thanks for wasting your time again with me today. Hugely appreciate it. If you want to give me a like and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. But as you can see in front of me, we have sort of a base pan off of a motorcycle. So an oil pan or a base pan, whatever you want to call it. A customer reached out to me and asked if we could fix a couple hairline cracks that are right here. And being that it's cast aluminum, me being not one to back down from a challenge, I said I'd give it a try. This is all cast aluminum. I believe it's off an older 80s era motorcycle. Not really sure what exactly this port is, but you can see here, hopefully I'll get a few close-up shots for you guys, that they actually tried to helicoil it. And along with helicoiling, they actually went ahead and put some of this putty stuff around there just to try to get it sealed. So I guess they're not really worried about what, I guess they're kind of looking at function over form at this point. But I'm not really sure what this putty stuff is. I don't think it's anything too, it's definitely nothing too crazy. And I can see why that definitely didn't leak, or didn't seal, I should say. So I thought that was going to be a lot harder to get off than what it was. And that makes the job quite a bit easier. But just a few things I wanted to just show you guys and walk you guys through on this. We actually have quite a crack right here now that I can actually see with all this putty being done. But I'm actually going to come on the outside here and fill it all up with TIG welding, and we're going to clean it up from the outside and do the work on the outside. The reason I don't want to do it on the inside is because we actually have this port here, and if I'm going to block off this and something's going to starve for oil, whatever it is, and as you can see right here, the ridge around our pan is kind of shallow, so I don't want to build up too much. I don't know what the cases look like on said bike, so I don't know if we have any clearance here or anything. So we're going to do the work from the outside, and once again, it's always going to change. You'll always see the weld from the outside, unfortunately, but from what you just seen with that putty or whatever the hell that stuff was, they're not really worried about what it looks like. So I'm going to try to get that helicoil out, and we're going to clean that up, and we're going to TIG weld that. But first, before we go that far, if you guys aren't familiar with helicoils, it's kind of essentially just, from what I see, it's kind of like a spring insert that you put in, and it's exposed to the outside of the existing material that you're screwing it into, and then your nut is supposed to screw onto the inside of that. To me, it's always been a band-aid at best. I mean, it'll get you out of a jam, I guess, if you're in the middle of the woods somewhere. But for the most part, I've never had super successful luck with it on oil pans or base pans. Maybe it's something I've been doing wrong, but usually it's kind of a band-aid. It's just preliminary to get you out of a jam and get you home. And once again, I want to just take a few moments to talk about cast aluminum and cast in general. Essentially what cast is, it's recycled aluminum or steel, and it's just melted down and all the impurities are left into it, and you pour it into a mold, and this is kind of what you get. So when you're welding it, it can either be a nightmare or it can be, I won't say a pleasure, but it can be pretty easily doable. But most times it is a little bit of a nightmare. I'm going to clean this up with probably just a wire wheel, and I'm going to clean it up with a die grinder, get it as clean as I can. One other thing that I will tell you guys that you do not want to do with this stuff is, when it comes to cleaning it, don't use stuff like WD-40 or brake cleaner or anything of the sort. What usually tends to happen is that where this is so porous, there's probably little indents and stuff in this that you can't really see to the naked eye, but this stuff will find its way in. And while you're TIG welding, I mean, that gets up to like 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So when you run over something like this type of chemicals or gases or liquid at that type of heat, that's something you don't want to be breathing in. And it could cause, I believe it's chloride and phosgene gases or something like that. But either way, it's not good in your lungs or in your body. One other thing that I will say is, this being a base pan, Once again, this kind of just looks like a port right here, so I'm hoping this isn't going to be anything too crazy, where I'm hoping most of the bulk of the oil kind of sits here. But aluminum will actually, over time, absorb whatever it's kind of encasing. So if you've ever done any aluminum welding on trailers or boat trailers that's been in salt, or even boats that's been in salt water, you'll notice sometimes it's just horrible to weld to, because it's essentially, you know, absorbed that salt and absorbed that impurities and the dirt, and now you're trying to burn it out. And that's what I think is probably going to happen here. But I'm going to try this. We're going to give it a go. See right here, there's actually a seal, and our weld zone is going to be right here. That heat will travel and it will ruin your seal. So any seals that are around here, I've already removed some copper washers amongst other things. And you got to get that seal out first. It will travel, it will ruin it, and you'll be searching for a seal. So I already loosened these two screws here. Not really sure what type of screen that is, but it wouldn't hurt for a new one to get that cleaned. So we'll lay that aside along with this stuff, and we'll start cleaning it up. So when I say that helicoil is essentially just a spring, I'm not sure if that's the proper terminology to use on it, but as you can see, it is kind of, you know, it's not all one solid piece. Now I believe there are certain threaded inserts that you could get that are, you know, just a solid piece, but when it comes to a helicoil like this, as you can see, that's kind of why I call it a spring. It's kind of just coiled up into the threaded insert that it is, but it's probably not the right terminology. It's probably not what helicoil uses itself. I will say they are great rigs when you need them and put on oil pans. I've never had much luck with them personally, but we're going to clean that up. That was pretty easy to come out. We're going to try to get the rest of the putty off, which I don't think is going to be too much of an issue, and then we can just start welding. I know what you guys are thinking. Could I have gotten a bigger wire wheel to use? And yeah, you're probably right. You definitely could have done with a 7-inch grinder or something like that. But no, unfortunately, I don't have anything smaller. I'm not sure if I kind of misplaced my die grinder wire wheels, or not really sure if I used them up and just never stocked up on new ones, but it is what it is. So now that we have all that putty out of the way and we have all this kind of cleaned up as nice as we're probably going to get it, unfortunately, I'm going to spend a couple more minutes and see if I can get it a little bit tighter than that, because it never came out really that great. But this piece here is just hanging on by a thread, and it opened up quite a few more cracks once I got that putty off and once I got this scaled away. And I actually went ahead and just cleaned off as much as I could get in here, and that'll kind of keep, you know, it'll keep the smoke down a bit when it comes to all this coating and all this oxidization, I guess you could call it. But I don't want to, but the customer actually said, you know, he wants to kind of fill this up, fix the cracks, and I can fill this hole in solid, then we can drill and we can tap it. But the issue that I'm kind of nervous of is that we have a crack actually coming down here on this port, and I can't really see it from the outside, but it's definitely there. So it's either I'm going to have to weld from this to here to seal it. Once again, this is just a seal weld, it's not a structural weld. So I'm going to V it out a little bit, play with it a little bit, and see if I can get it cleaner. So guys, I actually came in here and just gave it a little bit of a test hit right here with just some filler wire 332, I believe I was using, just to see what kind of impurities were going to be there, if in fact any. And as you're welding, for sure, you can see some of the impurities coming out of it. But I think we're going to keep going like that. I think I might come along the top here, try to put a quick pass around that, and we'll just keep going and see what type of mess we can make of it. Alright guys, so I'm actually going to let that cool down a little bit. As you can see, I just kind of came around and built it up. I'm going to build it up just a little bit more in this area and just kind of blend it in. I'm going to put a nice pass down there. And then I'm going to come in here and just grind that off with flush before. I'm just going to come in here and grind this, you know, as flat as I can get it. And as you can see in here, I couldn't really get in. So what I'm actually going to do now, I'm going to get a longer tungsten because right now I'm just running this short tap cap. So I can only get a piece of tungsten probably about 1 inch long. It's great for the tight areas, but when it comes to something like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a longer piece of tungsten so I can kind of have more stick out. And I can get down in this hole and hopefully I'll turn up my argon just a little touch and fuse that in better down there. Because what kind of happened, it fused to the top ridge, but not down below. So I'm going to try to do that, and I'm going to let this cool down a little bit because it just took a lot of heat. Hopefully it didn't warp. So guys, as you can see here, I added this tail piece, just another couple inches, so you can get a full piece of tungsten in your TIG torch. I have my tungsten actually stuck out quite a little bit further so I can get into this port down here. And I also have my argon cranked up another 10 psi just because where I have such a long stick out right now, I just wanted to add that little bit extra bit. Hopefully it doesn't kind of screw me up in any way. But I'm sure eventually someone might stumble across this video and ask, you know, why am I not running a bald end on my tungsten? The only time I found that ever really benefited me was with pure green tungsten. Other than that, when it comes to this stuff, a point with probably the tip just flattened, it works out perfect for me. I want to go forward in saying that I'm not a professional TIG welder. You're not going to see me on weld porn or anything like that. But, you know, I get the job done and it's fun to do. Another thing, if anyone's wondering, I'm actually using a Lincoln Electric Precision TIG 225. It's the transformer type. So this one's more straight to the point. You know, you want to do TIG welding, here's your machine. If you wanted to get into more like square waves and sinker waves and probably like different pulses and whatnot, not really a machine for you. But if you want to just weld shit together and weld it great and just weld it for the next 100 years, that machine's going to last. And it's a great machine. So this is cooled down quite a bit right now, and I think I'm going to give it another go and see if I can fuse that. And probably what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here and just clean that up a little bit, probably add a little bit more meat to it, and I think that's going to be good for, you know, compared to what it was. So guys, that's kind of the finished product. As you can see, it's kind of excessive here, but as I was adding heat to the base of this bung, I guess you could call it, it actually opened up a few more little hairline cracks around here, so I just kind of chased them down. Once again, this is just a seal joint. It's purely meant just to keep oil off the garage floor. The next step in this would be probably to build this up a little bit more and bring it to a machine shop, probably get this base milled down and then drilled and tapped. We're probably just going to take the belt sander or the grinder and just do this by hand and get it as flat as possible as you can by hand. And if he has to use a washer or a copper washer or a rubber washer, I guess that's kind of what he's going to have to do. Kind of on a budget and don't want to spend the extra money, which is understandable. I mean, this bike probably isn't really worth a whole lot, but yeah. So we're going to drill and tap it, but unfortunately I don't have the bolt, so I don't know the thread size, I don't know the pitch, I don't know the hole size, etc, etc. But that's going to be a wrap for today's video, guys, and thanks for chilling out and watching the video. And if you like what you see, for sure, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and if you have any recommendations of what to try different or what to do different, just comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next time wasting project.